is the backlog shrinking still? Slightly. So what things are looking like right now in terms of the game schedule? If I turn on display capture 2 here, right now, we have, these should just take one more session to finish off. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe and Pokémon Colosseum. We're trying to wrap that up here. Metroid Prime Remastered got finished off the last stream that we did that. So this used to be 3 games. That's why it showed edited here. And I have these separate rather than my graphic because they should just be like one session and done with each of them. Over here, we have the royal content left to go in Persona 5, so it's like we're almost there, but it's still gonna take like a decent like smidge of time, you know, it's still quite a decent bit of content. I have one last DLC to go in Origins, and then I'm done. One more of that. Fire Emblem Engage is way more time consuming than I would have initially thought, because the maps take me like forever, and then we'll go into like Fire Emblem 7 afterwards because it's getting added to Game Boy Advanced Online, and I want to cover it before it releases on that. And the Nintendo Ninjas hate me for not shelling out $100 Canadian to essentially rent the game for the Switch, so we're doing that immediately after. I really want to play Octopath 2, but I've barely had the time to do it. In fact, I think I ran out of uploads with it today, so I'll have to do it in the near future here. Like, I have the freaking collector stuff laid out here. I love Octopath, but I've barely been able to do it. There's some slight breathing room coming. Well, this came out today, actually. Well, no, yesterday. I'm getting my days mixed up. It's Friday. That was Thursday. My goodness gracious. I guess I can take these off now. But things were a little bit busy, and I was like, yeah, I'll just do Mario Kart 8 DLC tomorrow, is what we'll do. This is an indie game that I really want to play coming out March 23rd. It's kind of like a spiritual successor, sort of follow-up spin-off thingamabob to this indie game that I really like that was actually developed by Laura Shigihara, who did the music for Plants vs. Zombies. So that means this is gonna have some pretty darn good music. Also, fun fact, Toby Fox did a track in this game that's coming out, so the more you know there. This is coming to PC on March 28th, and I've heard amazing things about The Last of Us before, and I've started watching the TV show, and it's actually pretty darn good. So I was like, huh, I might actually want to play that game. So there might be 2 more things coming up in March, but otherwise, it's still pretty darn crazy right now. But it's like, one more session of this, I'm done. One more session of this, that I'm done. Maybe 2 more sessions of this, that I'm done. A handful of sessions here, and then quite a bit here, quite a bit there, and I've barely done any of the game here yet. So, you know, it's, whoops, turn it off, there we go. You know, so it's not so outlandish that I can't get through it at all. But it's still pretty darn crazy, but I'm slowly getting there, you know? But yeah, is that the last Mario Kart wave, or is there 5 waves? I think there's like 8, is it there? No, there's 6. There's 6 waves, I believe, right? It might be, wait, because I'm fairly certain that that's just over the midpoint and halfway through. And there's a freaking Healy thing right here this whole time. Nice Roselia. My goodness gracious, can I read the book? I cannot read the book for those that have checked in over here. Gosh dang it. Yeah, so it's literally doubling the amount of tracks in Mario Kart. So Mario Kart 8 on the Switch had like all of its base game tracks, plus all the DLC that was added to the Wii U. By this expansion pass, once all the waves are out, I forget exactly what it is, like how many waves there are, but it's literally doubling the amount of tracks. There was 48 in the main game of Deluxe, and there's 48 being added by the DLC, which is like a lot. Oh, we're having trouble, are we? Perhaps you're lost in the expanse of this building. Yeah, adding 2 could be worse. Yeah, it could well be worse. And one looking it up on, one of my favorite sites to go to when I'm planning out playthroughs is How Long to Beat, where people report how long it took to, you know, beat X given games, and if they were just playing it casually, just focusing on objectives, if they tried to 100% it, and you can see like roughly how long it's gonna take to beat each of these modes. To be fair, I'm at like 80 hours in Fire Emblem Engage, and How Long to Beat said that it was like 30 to 40 hours, but I'm also playing on the hardest difficulty and really take my time with it, whereas most people are probably playing on normal and going through the story, so, you know, there are cases where it's not gonna be super accurate. But according to How Long to Beat, I think The Last of Us was like 15 to 20 hours, and it's like, okay, that's pretty short compared to most things that I do on this channel. That's manageable. And as for that indie game there, the game that it's a spiritual successor of, Rakuen, that was like a 7-hour game. So I'm sure that this new one can be done in like 2 streams, you know? It probably shouldn't be that big a deal. I shall be happy to take you. Oh, where am I going to take you? Well, since you ask, you deserve a reply. What? It's your doom! What the heck? Are they excited for the next Nintendo Direct? Most likely be showing something Pokemon. I don't think that they would because because Pokemon does their own presentations. You know, Pokemon doesn't really get showcased in Nintendo Directs. Like, if they have Pokemon content to show, they do a Pokemon Presents, is what they do. I just realized we have an evolution, so I need to edit the layout here, actually, where I need to do this, and then we need to do this. Look, I came prepared. I just forgot to do it earlier. But now we have the thing. All right, so we can Psybeam here. We can Thunder here. But yeah, you love how long to beat. Sometimes it's gonna be a bit of, yeah. There are definitely some cases where it's not the most accurate depiction. Especially if you're taking your time with it. Like, I've definitely been a decent bit off for Persona 5, I can say that for sure. But yeah, generally it can be a pretty handy resource. I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't just one-shot both of them. Would have been pretty cool. Swipe. Wait, you're using what now? I didn't read it. Okay, it's fine. It's perfectly fine here. Alright, so we can Psybeam there, and then we can just, like, do this, because you barely have any health left. So let's go ahead and do this crazy effect. Whoa! Crazy effects, man. There goes Dustox. Get on out of here. And then Psybeam the Sviper. Like that! Nice! Yeah, the animations in this game sure are something, aren't they? Alright. There we go. Cypher P, I'm bopping. Ah, this track is bopping. Ah, so this is it. When should you buy the whole Ranger series from the Wii U eShop, or should you skip the first game? Oh, this guy's just gone. I guess we banished him to the Shadow Realm. Up to you. That I don't remember enough about the first game. I know that it's the jankiest. That they were quality of life thingamabobs in the later games. I'm fairly certain in the first game you need to draw like all the rings around the Pokemon in one fell swoop. And in the later games, they just generally have health, so you don't need to do it, you know, all in one fell swoop. I'm fairly certain. I don't know. Play a lot of indie games off stream. It can be really hard to schedule things with less known games because a game could be 5 hours or 35 hours. Yeah, if something isn't reported on that site a whole lot, then it's just guessing at that point of like, how long is it really gonna take? But you know, I have been grateful for how long to be letting me get a little bit better of a handle and plan in terms of the stuff that I'm doing around here. Like, if I saw that Pokémon Colosseum was gonna be like an 80-hour game, I would not have started on the channel when I did, you know? No chance of that. But it didn't seem too long. I was like, oh, we can do this. It's stream 5 right now, and we should be able to finish it off this stream. So, you know, I'd say that our 5-stream series is about a medium length kind of playthrough on this channel. You know, maybe like a medium, lower medium kind of length playthrough on this channel. It's a pretty good amount, you know, is the way that I see it personally. Okay, the music cut for a second there, which made me think there was something crazy coming up. I don't know, this way first, oh yeah? So you're telling me you'll knock me out of the way? I'll know right away if that's possible by battling me. Whoa, Cypher Peon Arton would like to battle. Arton? What Pokemon does Arton have? Piloswine and Delibird. The latter one of those got turned into a robot in Scarlet and Violet. Crazily enough. Imagine getting turned into a robot. It's like the future episode of SpongeBob where it's like everything is Chrome in the future except everything is a robot because, oh, there's a shadow, it's a Delibird! Well, I guess we're committing to the Piloswine first then. I would have immediately targeted the Delibird, but I guess we're doing that in that case. That did like nothing. That was next to nothing there. Ow, nice close-up shot there. My goodness. This do better damage. Oh yeah, oh my good gracious. Damage is insane out here. See you later, Piloswine. It didn't even have your evolution of Mamoswine at this point. Have another ice type. And Shadow Rush out. But you missed! You fool! You fell victim to one of the classic blunders. I can use Thunder here. This is fair game. Anyway, the topic that we were just talking about a smidge ago, game requests around here. So very early days, I was like, yeah, anybody can just save up channel points by watching the stream and redeem playthroughs of basically any game that I can play. And that evidently got out of hand when a playthrough ended up taking a year, but with Brave the Default there. And then it was like, let's do these thingamabobs for charity events. A present? Whoa! But that would just leave me with a whole bunch of, like, barely started playthroughs. Mad Lad May resulted in, you know, the craziness there. Like, it was during a time that I could manage it, so, you know, I'm glad that I did it, but, you know, was a smidge sketchy, considering it did end up adding whole series, essentially, was the case. And nowadays, I don't really do game requests at all anymore because the schedule is super... Wow! Holy crap! As crazy as it is. Well, game schedule plus schedule with university, my own real life projects like my truck, for example, and just spending time with family. And even editing projects around the channel, like the Scarlet and Violet video essay that continues to stress me the heck out. Let's see here. There wouldn't be anyone that'd be able to inflict a status or anything here, right? No, I don't think so. I don't think so here. I can do that just for funsies, I guess. Probably a standard Pokeball. But yeah, nowadays I'm balancing so much, and I feel like I'm barely able to be on top of things enough as is, that, you know, it's not really I don't really consider it all that much anymore. If, in theory, some, like, insanely rich person came forward and was like, I want to pay you full-time to cover this one game, of course I'd be like, sure, I'll play it, you know, but I don't think that's ever happening. So I'm just gonna be you know, playing the stuff that I have planned and trying to get through things as best I can, which, you know, we'll see how well I can get through things here. We shall see. I'm surprised that Raikou hasn't gone into hyper mode in a good while here, you know. I'm a smidge surprised. But yeah, so nowadays it's not really part of the equation in my plans. I'm barely on top of my GameCube enough as is, and I need time to edit things like video essays that I don't have enough time for editing. Should I just throw a better Pokeball? Should I maybe? Here, let's call Ixel this time. I only have 3 Premier Balls. But Pokeball's satisfying. And it kind of matches Delibird's colors and stuff. So, you know, come on, Delibird. Come on with you. I don't get it, man. I'm just gonna throw an Ultra Ball if you do another Shadow Rush, I think. Is what I'm just gonna do. Oh no. Ow. Screw it, I'm throwing an Ultra Ball. I'm at that point. And, you know, there's also game recommendations. Like, I feel like as a content creator, like, it's very normal to receive a lot of game recommendations. People being like, oh, you should totally play X game. It's really cool. You should play it. You should try it out. And, you know, I basically always have to tell people, like, I really can't. Like, if it is really good, I'll consider it down the line. But down the line means, like, years. You know, is kind of what it means. Wait, I wanted to select Ultra Ball. Gosh dang it, no! Come on, just go into the Pokeball. Oh? No! No. 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 No! I wanted to select the Ultra Ball. Gosh dang it. Anyway. You know, also because of how crazy the game schedule is, you know, it does often mean that I really can't consider adding much mentally at all. So oftentimes if somebody, you know, is commenting being like, oh, I really like this game, you should totally try it. Or, you know, is letting me know in some way. Usually it can't really be considered much at all, but I'll still, you know, for the sake of not hurting people's feelings, I'll still just be like, hey, that sounds pretty cool. You know, I can definitely consider it way down the line if the schedule opens up a bit. But there's almost certainly no chance I can get to it because the things are friggin' crazy around here. If the game could show up, there we go. It'd be great. So, you know, sometimes I do eventually get to things that people would like to see. Like Pokémon Colosseum here. You know, sometimes it does eventually happen. But, you know, a lot of the time, I just kind of have to be like, oh, neat. Like, I'll definitely keep it in the back of my mind. But I'm so swamped, man. Is the case. Or, you know, sometimes, if the game schedule's really crazy, but I need to add something out of nowhere for one reason or another, you know, a lot of the time it will be a game that a lot of people want to see, and they'll be like, oh, sweet, you're playing this, that's amazing. Whereas what I feel inside is like, it's cool, but it's stressful. Do you have any idea what the GameCube looks like right now? is the case. There's the Shadow Delibird. Let's do this. Or there's some games that the stuff that I'm doing on them is pretty much done, but I've said that there's a chance that I might go back to for some extra post-game content at some point. Not a massive ton of playthroughs. Well, I mean, it's not like I 100% a massive ton of playthroughs or anything like that. I just mean that there isn't, you know, a massive ton of games that I've beaten that people around the channel do want to see, like, more content on, like more post-game stuff. But there are some. There are, you know, some playthroughs like that where, you know, the main stuff is done, but people would like to see some more. And sometimes I do get asked by some people, like, oh, is there a chance that you'll get back to that at some point? I'd really love to see you getting back to that. And on the idea of getting back to whatever other game that, you know, I've done before, is like, it's not feasible. I can't. I'm losing my mind over here. Like, even the most recent time that we streamed Fire Emblem Engage, I was trying to play through the new DLC of that, and it was so dang difficult, those DLC maps, that I couldn't get through them, which meant that I spent like a, what, 4-hour stream making essentially zero progress. And I do admit, during the last Engage stream, I lost my cool a little bit. Like, well, not to, when you say that, it sounds like you know, blew your lid off, which I did not, but, you know, I got a bit frustrated, and I apologize for, you know, how do I phrase it? Just showing my frustration there and not being, you know, this kind of bubbly, happy, energetic self that I am right now. That is. Just because it's like, man, that's 4 hours that I could have committed to getting through something here that just went to essentially nothing. And it's just a really crummy feeling, you know? Is the case. So, you know, even situations like that where I try to put in time and have it essentially go nowhere. Oh, you're faster then. It's just not a great feeling, you know? I mean, just to accept missing some Shadow Pokemon if you're not going 100% this game anyways. Yeah, I know, and I know that I can get them, like, afterwards anyway. And it would make the most sense with, like, game schedule and stuff like that. But I'm just the kind of person that it's so unsatisfying missing them. About an hour, you'll face a multi-battle sequence where battle resets might be painful. Oh, if they have Shadow Pokemon as well. Like, I have heard that there are ways to, you know, get the Shadow Pokemon that you miss later. So if there's a multi-battle sequence coming up with Shadow Pokemon, wow, the crit again didn't do as much damage as last time. And maybe I just won't. I'll try to catch them in Ultra Balls, and if I don't get them, I don't get them. Most likely. Do I have a decent bit of healing items? So, yeah, there's that. It's just unsatisfying leaving them. Like, luckily this is a game where, you know, you can catch them later. But I always like to have my games in a 100%able state. Not necessarily 100% them, not necessarily be a completionist, but have them be in a 100%able state, or like the most convenient 100%able state. The best example of this was the Nier Replicant playthrough on the channel, because Nier Replicant has two halves to it. You know, pre-time skip and post-time skip. And once you get to the midpoint of the game and you do like the 5-year time skip, you can never go back to the younger Nier and do, you know, the side quests of 5 years prior. So half of the side quests are pre-time skip, so you can get like 50% quest completion, and half of them are post-time skip. So even though I had no intention of, you know, 100%ing that game, 100%ing that playthrough, I still did every single side quest pre-time skip for my Nier Replicant playthrough on the channel. Just on the off chance that down the line, I'll use a regular Pokeball for now, and then if you use Shadow Rush a couple times, I'll use an Ultra Ball. Just on the off chance that in the far future I wanted to 100% the game, then I'd be able to do so without starting a completely new save file over again, you know? Like that save file is in a state where it is 100% a yes, where it is 100% a bull if I want it to be. It's why you'll also never find me using like one-time use items in any playthrough pretty much. Well, I shouldn't have battled. Like in Fire Emblem Engage, for example, there's this one staff that you can get that resets, like that fully recharges all of your allies' emblem meters. But it's a one-time use, and it's like you only have the one staff, then it's gone forever, which means that I'd never use it. It's also why I very seldomly use Master Balls in playthroughs in Pokemon games, because they're a one-off. Also, luckily, when it comes to that one staff, the latest update for Engage did actually make it possible to obtain unlimited of that staff, what with the well. So, you know, luckily it's not an end-all be-all if I do need to use it now. But had they not released that update, I would never use that staff. No chance. Never happening. In fact, I might never S-support anyone in that game for that reason. Just because, you know, S-supporting in Fire Emblem Awakening and Fates was really important because that would determine your child units. In Three Houses, it didn't matter, just because it was something that you did at the end of a playthrough anyway, like just before the credits roll. Whereas Engage, it's something that you do and then you set in stone, like, forever in that save file. And because it's not as, like, it's decently important because it does things for, like, the final emblem, like, there's some special Engage stuff that you get, and you get, like, a better support rank with that character. But it's not so game-breakingly important to, like, child units in Awakening or Fates that I feel compelled to do it. So I might just not S-support anybody in that game because of that reason. You're looking to get past this door? Yeah, I'm guessing there's a Daredevil in you. Just to, you know, have as perfected of a save file as possible. Am I a little bit out of my mind? Maybe. Some people sometimes tell me that, you know, oh, do you have OCD or something like that? I'm fairly certain I don't, but I do admit sometimes with some situations like that, I just like to be as comfortable there as possible. And I realize that with the Shadow Pokemon here, I can catch them later. Like if I knock them out, I'm not completely screwing myself out of the opportunity to get them. So, you know, I should be able to feel free to knock some of them out here. But old habits die hard sometimes, you know? I'd like to do that just to be safe. You know, if there is going to be something as crazy as a multi-battle sequence, then I won't get that hung up on it. I have no intention of 100% in Colosseum, but if it wasn't possible to re-catch them later, then I would get hung up on it. Just because, you know, it would be the same situation as Near Replicant, where I would want my save file in a 100%able state. Even if I have no intention of 100%ing it, I would still want it in a 100%able state. So luckily, since you can re-catch them later, I'll not get too hung up on it, but, you know, there's that. Given the absence of wild Pokemon in this game, but not in Gale of Darkness, it would probably make most sense to use the Master Ball before you reach the credits. But it's a one-off. But it's a unique thing. I guess that there's only so many Pokemon that you can catch then, is what you're saying. So it has to be used on one Pokemon anyway, or not be used at all. In that sense, as opposed to Gale of Darkness, where you could just, you know, use it on anybody down the line, like some wild Pokemon. Whereas I guess in this, if you've caught all the Shadow Pokemon, it's now impossible to ever use the Master Ball. So I guess it makes sense. I don't think I'd ever do any transferring down the line of Pokemon, but, you know, apparently the special Colosseum ribbon could be kind of cool. And then, it's in a Master Ball that adds extra uniqueness because you only have one of those. Should I just look up the Pokemon, like the available Pokemon in this game coming up and decide who gets a Master Ball used on them? Maybe I'll do it once I get the Master Ball. I don't think I have it right now yet, do I? I'll check my inventory. Collector's emerging from her moist skin. She said that intentionally creepily. I just like having the schnice thingamabobs, you know, is the case. It's why, you know, if I wanted to go like ultra hung up on the details mode, if I was playing Pokemon Colosseum on my own, like not doing a playthrough and I had all the time in the world to play this game, I would catch every Shadow Pokemon in a standard Pokeball. You know, I've obviously taken that liberty, so I'm not as hung up on this playthrough as I would otherwise find myself. You know, I am taking some liberties here, like catching things in Ultra Balls or, or, you know, being willing to potentially knock some out here. But I am still, yeah, so I don't have it yet. but I am still generally getting somewhat hung up. Here, look, I'll use an Ultra Ball. Look, I'll use it. If you're playing on original hardware, you could at least transfer the Master Ball to another game, but catching all the Mons in this emulated form would render the Master Ball useless, you think? Because, you know, I'm sure that there are ways to transfer things over, like, just generally through this. Like, I'm fairly certain that I can connect this with the Game Boy Advance emulator, and then any save data that I have on my Game Boy Advance emulator, I can put on my custom firmware 3DS. Well, but there would be Game Boy Advance there, so I'd probably need to actually use Game Boy Advance emulator on PC to transfer things to Nintendo DS emulator, and then it could be transferred to my 3DS. And then from 3DS, I'd have to do like the weird Gen 5 mini game and then stuff with Bank and Home. But it would, since I have a custom firmware 3DS, it is in theory possible, which is why, you know, I'm still being slightly mindful about things here, just on the off chance that I'd end up doing that down the line, you know. Just on the very slight chance there. So, yeah, that's kind of my stance here. Again, I don't think I have OCD or anything, but sometimes I do get kind of hung up on the details. Like that Sunflora got caught in an Ultra Ball rather than a standard Pokeball, which is pretty sucky. It does hurt my soul a tiny bit, but it's not that bad, right? It's not that big a deal. Alright, let's keep on moving. Let's keep on going. Because, yeah, I guess the Master Ball in game would just be an item in my inventory that could never be used again if I catch all the Shadow Pokemon. Speaking of Shadow Pokemon and doing this on emulator, there were actually some timed events for this game that I did think about showcasing on this playthrough that I don't actually remember how you use cheats on Dolphin. I know that there's a way that you do so. I was thinking about looking into that at some point and then just showcasing the Pokemon that come from the events, just because, you know, we did that during our Pokemon Platinum playthrough, for example. Just using cheat codes to be like, hey, here's the event that was time limited. Is the case, you know.